Hi, I'm Seabud, and welcome back to this little series in which we are making a building 3D model that is ready for City Skylines 2, all in Blender. And at this point we're pretty much done with everything, except we do not have a normal map yet. And so right now we will be building a height map to normal map converter. So we are going to copy our inputs and take a little bit of space because this converter will take up a couple of nodes, and we're going to take the height map output and put 4 translate nodes, and we're going to group them for X and Y because we need to translate into 2 directions, and we need to translate into 2 directions and 1 pixel in a distance of 1 pixel each. Back and forth. So we need 2 values, we need 1 and -1, and then we're going to plug 1 of each into each one of the directions. And in the second step we want to subtract both of the values, and then we're going to multiply them by 0.5. And what we can also do is we can build in a little second multiplier, and we can put a custom value, which we call strength, and that will control the strength of our normal map. And then we're going to copy this to have it for the Y direction as well. Let's check that everything is the same. And with our 2 multiplied outputs, we can now combine these with a combine XYZ node. So this will produce a vector. Importantly, keep the Z value at 1 and only use the X and Y value. And this one we just have to normalize. We have to scale it as well by 0.5. And then we have to add another vector to our existing vector, and this will be a vector with 0.5 on each axis. And at last we can separate our vector into 3 separate values and feed that into our combined color node, and then we have a final image that is made of colors. And that's basically it for the converter. We can now plug this into the normal output, and we can also group this, call it CS2 height to normal. And I'm also going to give this a little custom color. So now we have a nice and small converter. I will merge the inputs to be a bit smaller and make everything a bit more tidy. And that is it for the normal converter. So we can see, if we see it in the viewer, it looks quite empty right now, and that is because we need to turn up the strength. And as soon as we do that, we actually start seeing the right values. Also, you might realize that the colors look a bit off right now, and that is because the colors are being shown differently than they are in the wrong color space. But since we have specified that we want our image to be exported in non-color color space, this should be fine, and we will get the accurate normal data in our final export. It just doesn't show up here in the right way. Now we can render, and once that's done, we can check out if we actually see all of our images in our folder. So where our Blender file is, we now have a folder that has the same name as we specified in our file output. And let's see if there are files inside. And yes, we have 5 textures, 1 for each, that are automatically being exported into here. So that looks good, and they all have the right name as well. And before we now go back to our 3D model, let's change the resolution back to 4096, which is the standard texture size. And let's render again. And this will take a while now. And I'll speed it up a bit. So here's our final rendering. And it already got exported, and we can see that it's much more clear than the other 1K image that we had before. And so with our final images, we can now go back to layout. We can go back to our model that we want to put the textures on. And I'm just going to create a material here, a new one. I just called it tutorial building. And we can now drag in all of the textures that we want into here and set up the material as we like it. So this is just for being able to see it within Blender. And I'm using the mask map here, or the glossiness specifically. And I'm using the base color and the normal map. So setting everything up correctly. And I'm just going to remove all of the other materials that we don't need anymore, because we only really want one texture to affect the entire building. And once that's done, let's look at the textures if they look correct. I'm making a couple of more adjustments here. And once that's done, we can actually start unwrapping the entire building. So all of the remaining faces that we didn't unwrap before, we can now unwrap and put them in the right texture space, and then everything will start to come together, and this is the final result. So as you can see, it's a very nicely textured building, and the big advantage of our workflow is also that, of course, we can at any time change something on the texture and just render it out. Just hit F12 once and then update the textures that we are inputting, and everything will be adjusted. So this is everything you need to know for the workflow. And if you now think that this is a bit too much work and you don't want to invest the time setting up all the settings and all the node groups and the compositing, then I can recommend to you going to my Patreon page. And if you buy me a coffee there, you get access to the asset creation project template, which is essentially a Blender file in which everything is already set up, and you can start right away and focus just on the creative things. So if you want to do that, you can check it out on my Patreon page. And that was it for this little series. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did, consider liking or sharing with other people that you think could benefit from this. And of course, if you have any new input or any questions, get in touch with me, and I'm happy to answer or maybe even adjust the workflow if something comes up that is even more efficient. And with that, see you soon.